Osowski is absent. Mrs. Dean. Here. Mrs. Johnson.
Here.
Mrs. Martin.
Here.
Ms. Miller.
Here.
Mr. Osowski.
Here.
The chair is still here. Ms. Jesuik is absent. In case you turned your cell phones on, turn them back off. 7:33, yes. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda of the April 29th special meeting as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Osowski. I think Mrs. Johnson got you faster. Seconded by Mrs. Johnson. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Call to the audience, public participation regarding agenda items. I think you all want to go home, so there are none. All right, communication from the Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Beltink.
What? You skipped one.
Oh, I did skip one. I'm sorry. I forgot. Communications received by the Board Secretary. Okay, now we'll go to Mr. Beltink. I'm sorry.
We're here to review the data where we're going to request the board approve our request for a state aid note, a short-term note in the amount of $4 million to cover a cash flow shortfall that we're finding in the short term. So some of the things that are driving this we've talked about before. When we presented the mid-year budget, we had a shortfall in that of about 1.6, and some of that we talked about were supplies and facilities that we had spent. And we are continuing to look for savings opportunities there, and in the next budget cycle for next year, we will be looking to drive those costs down, get them more into a historical range that we've seen previous to 2021. We should be able to do that based on a number of the repairs and upgrades that we've made over the last 3 years with the bond. The other thing that's going on right now in our cash flow projection, we're losing about $100,000 a month. Not losing it, it's being withheld by the state. We have a $2.2 million at-risk or 31A at-risk allocation. At-risk? 31A. And currently each month they're holding half of that allocation. So at this point we have a shortfall in that, and at some point they will fund that, but currently we're at about a $700,000 shortfall on that. And that will project through till August, and it will hit the 1.1, which is half of the 2.2 million. So at this point,
just real quickly,
yes.
a note on that. So specifically with regards to those funds that the state has been withholding, it's been an ongoing process where there's actually like monitoring going on by the state that started all the way back pre-COVID, if you can believe that. So pre-COVID, there was some monitoring going on related to MTSS and whether we were really fully implementing MTSS. And I will say this, from where I understand and have been told we were at that point in time to where we are now with our MTSS processes, we're light years beyond where we were.
Yes.
But the trick is we have a monitor, a state-appointed monitor from MDE, who's coming in, and I'm being solely transparent with what's going on. And the people in this room, the building principals can testify. She comes in, she tells us a few things she wants to see. She makes a site visit. She actually admits that she sees those things taking place in our classrooms. Oftentimes documents that in an email that usually goes and is directed to Kim, as well as some others on the team. And then she literally says, but now that I've seen you guys doing A, B, and C, I want to go to this building and I want to see D, E, and F.
So she's power hungry.
And then she goes to that building, she skips over to the junior
Somebody from
high.
the treasury.
You do a site visit the following month, or maybe a month and a half later. She says, okay, I saw D, E, and F at the junior high. Now I want to run across the street to the Veritas program and see G, H, and I. And I'm not kidding, that's what's been going on. To the point where I finally, after consulting with another person we have assisting us with some school improvement efforts through Wayne Risa, I finally said, and I know she probably wasn't extremely happy about this, but I can tell you, anybody that read the email I sent would tell you that the email I sent, I went out of my way to thank this MDE monitor for her efforts in supporting us, but I also let her know the financial toll that them withholding funds was beginning to have on us in combination with some other factors. And finally, I think we're gonna get some movement, because that email might have also been sent to her supervisor and a couple other people. And she's supposed to be coming back here in early May. And hopefully after that visit, we will finally have those funds on their way to being released. Because she literally just moves the target of where she wants to see us hit. Although she also does applaud the efforts that she herself is seeing and observing in the classrooms. So I just wanted to vary there for a minute so the board knows that efforts have been undertaken.
Yes.
And that the people in this room primarily, these administrators, have been working with their staff to really push on the full implementation of MTSS within their buildings, not only from an SEL standpoint, but also from an academic standpoint. And we're, again, light years ahead of where we were. So I'll stop.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop for a second, and I'm gonna say, we should probably introduce our visitor and let him introduce himself and tell her why he's here.
When we get into the transactional aspects,
We will?
We did ask Christopher Iamarino, Mr. Iamarino from the Thrun Law Firm, who we worked with in our district on past state aid note type transactions. And I figured if anybody in the room has any technical related question or anything close to it, from a technical aspect, as we proceed to the rest of what we have to share, that Mr. Iamarino is the best person to answer those questions and walk us through the process. And he's been working closely with us since the moment we reached out to him and helping us along the way.
I also think that maybe at this point, because we haven't had to do this in a very long time, since the year after COVID, that the majority of this board is not familiar with the need to borrow from the state and why we would be in this position and what this actually means. So maybe we should stop and explain that, this isn't unique to Redford Union, but what this actually is. Because while I know, and Mr. Osowski knows, the rest of the board wasn't here during deficit years and lean years, and so they don't know. And so maybe we should stop and explain before we go even into to the resolution.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Mike, sorry.
So the process being, we have identified a shortfall in our cash flow projection. That means revenue, cash coming in is going to be exceeded by cash going out. Pure and simple fact. That's expenses exceed revenues, or cash in does not meet the needs for the cash going out.
And it's typical in the summer, right?
Yes, yes.
That's when our
yes.
shortfall occurs.
Right.
Typically,
Our
so,
shortest
yes.
point is in
Because
the
we don't get funding, right?
We receive 11 monthly payments.
Right.
And so the month of September, instead of getting a payment on September 20th, we get nothing. But however, typically property tax payments are made by the taxing authority at that time. It does not meet the same level,
Right,
but they are there.
thank you.
So in this case, we are in need of a cash influx prior to the summer, which means we are asking to go out to an institution, a banking institution, for a short-term note between this time and the state aid note coming in, correct?
State runs through the Michigan Finance Authority what they call a pool. And the pool,
That's okay.
there we go, sorry. They run a pool, and all a pool is, it's a collection of school districts that all kind of join together and identify what they need to borrow, and then they all go out collectively through the authority to identify a lender, and districts borrow their money in that fashion. And so the idea is collectively districts are able to do better than what they're able to do on their own. The unfortunate thing is that program does not start, it's only once a year, and it's August 20 or thereabouts, depending on how the weekends fall, every year. Well, your district needs money effectively here in May through August, and so waiting till August is not an option. So the idea here is we have this short-term borrowing that'll just span that gap from May till August, and then also have you then participate in the state's program. So that May to August, that'll be the short-term note. It gets paid off in August. And then from August 2025 through August of 26, you'll have a borrowing through the Michigan Finance Authority, through the state. And so that's kind of the structural concept that we're talking about here. And so for purposes of the short-term one, we're basically taking bids from potential interested banks. Solicitation for bids was sent out to a number of banks. We've also put a notice out through what's called the Municipal Finance Authority. It's an organization in downtown Detroit that works on finance deals for public entities like schools. And so the idea is to get as many participants submitting a bid as possible so that we can take the best bid. The more participants, the better it is. And so that's the approach. The goal is to take bids this Friday, identify who your bank is, and then get documents prepared. The idea would be a closing, a funding, a week from this Thursday. So that's the goal as far as that short-term note, and that's the $4 million that was just referenced, and that would span from this May 8 timeframe through August 21.
Okay. So I think I'm going to let Mike finish, and then before we have any more discussion or conversation, we'll go to resolution so that we're following Robert's rules, because I have several questions, and I'm sure there are some other board members who have several questions. So go ahead and carry
All right.
on, Mr. Bucket.
So the other thing in the short-term cash flow, the other thing that is exacerbating in the short term is, so we pay out, we have 26 annual payroll dates, right?
Right.
So that's 2 a month, and then there's 2 months where you have 3, and that's typical, right? So the other thing that's gonna exacerbate that in the short term, between May 20th and June 20th, we will have a 3 pay
A 3-month.
payroll in that month. So that adds an additional approximately $1 million in all in payment in the short term. So again, this, I will take full responsibility for this. This quick need for cash is turnaround. We should have, and we should have had this documented and seen this earlier. I will say this. I have implemented, we worked through this, we will begin regularly implementing a monthly 12-month rolling cash flow forecast, along with a 30-day more detailed cash-based approach as well. So you have two ways to approach your cash flow. One is off of your balance sheet, which is typically more of a longer term, 12-month projection, and then you look cash basis. What's my cash in the bank now? Go through your expenditures. It's a shorter term outlook, 90-day, a 3-month outlook, and then you marry the two up. And those typically tend to be rolling, and at the end of each month, you go and you compare actual to your projections, so then way you can adjust going forward. I will say this. When we took over the finance department, we took over basically a blank slate. We've had to implement new procedures from day one. You know, I attend the MSBO every year to try to learn. We attend the Wayne County meetings. We consult. We work with RISA. The cash flow piece of this is going to be layered into this, and I will take full responsibility for not having that in before. But like I said, these are the things that we're continuing to develop and work through.
Okay, so I'm going to call for the motion, and then we will have discussion, and okay, because we cannot, we shouldn't have any more discussion. We shouldn't have any discussion without calling for the motion. Okay, so we will move on to action items. Special consideration, non-consent agenda action items. Can I get a motion that the Board of Education, at the recommendation of Mike Beltink, Chief Financial Officer, and Jason Witt, Superintendent, approve the state aid note borrowing resolution authorizing borrowing in the amount not to exceed $4 million as presented? Okay, we can't have discussion without a motion, guys.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Osowski. Is there support? Supported by Mrs. Dean. Okay. Is there any discussion? And I am going to start, and I am going to do my best to not be emotional, but I'm probably not going to succeed. We sat in this room just a month ago, and we were told we had a 12% fund balance. Thank you. There are many people in this room, including myself, who remember the very lean years and the deficit years, and the years that we borrowed every single year at a high interest rate because we were an at-risk district. How do we go from having a 12% fund balance to having a $4 million cash flow issue in the matter of a month and potentially need to borrow again in August? It is a very slippery slope. 12% fund balance, $4 million now that we need to borrow. I'm going to just tell you, I am not happy. I agonized for many years. I watched this district and our teachers and our administrators fight tooth and nail off of their backs with concessions to save this district from being taken over by an emergency manager. And we finally get to being healthy, and now I'm hearing that we need to borrow money again. I don't understand how that happens. I have said every time we hear on the news about districts who all of a sudden they have this balance and now they're $25 million in deficit. I don't understand how that happens. I don't really understand how this happened when we were told we had a 12% fund balance. A 12% fund balance should have been able to carry us through, in my understanding, in my years on this board. I just don't understand, Mike.
So some of this is, I need to represent the mid-year budget. So some of this, the debt fund, again, the model that we had did not take into account the fund balance that was allocated towards the debt fund. Not the debt fund, the bond fund, right? So we had allocated part of the general fund to the bond fund.
So we overspent on our bond, and
Yes.
we need,
No, we didn't, but we knew about this, right? We had allocated we had ESSER funds that we had allocated from the general fund, and we talked about this before with the bond. We knew
Yep.
we were overspending the bond.
Correct. But we were also told that the
Yes.
ESSER funds were correcting that. And now I'm
Correct.
hearing that we
Correct.
overspent those ESSER funds
No, we-
too, is
we-
what it sounded like to me.
We did not overspent the ESSER funds?
Uh-huh. Did we overspend the ESSER funds? Are we pulling money from our general fund that is not ESSER fund or bond money to cover this bond?
No, no.
Okay?
I can answer that question. I had a conversation yesterday with, checking on that exact question.
Because you knew we were going to ask you this question.
Well, I track some things well.
You know
and
us.
I will say this, I confirm that between the combination of the $59 million bond, the $6 million that this board authorized,
You know, ESSER funds?
that was supposed to be offset by the ESSER funds, I agree. And as well as the interest earnings on the $59 million bond, and the food service funds that we used, and the little bit of Act 18 dollars we used, that we did not expend, we did not exceed those amounts.
Okay.
So what I brought forward to this board through the course of that bond project, and what was authorized to be spent for bond projects, we are within that allocation.
So then help me understand. When you say the general fund it's being pulled out of help me understand where this money is.
So we have been overspending on the general fund side.
Okay.
That's where it lies. And it is something that we've started working on, and we can pull back from this next year. We've, Judy and Jason and I and Kim sat down last Monday, and Judy's already started working on looking at what positions we're going to fill and where there are opportunities. Nobody has talked about cuts. Nobody has talked about that to that extent. It's where do we have holes, what do we need to fill, and how can we be efficient on that side,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
And again, there
Yeah,
is,
I
there
know,
are,
but
there are
I need to
opportunities,
understand why we need
there
this
are
money.
opportunities on the spending side to pull back from this as well. It's better now to identify this than later. Could it have been earlier? Yes. If we had been doing a cash flow projection, so it's a twofold with the cash flow projection and the financial projection. Those things will shake out between the two on a financial side of things. But again, sometimes a healthy entity from time to time will have short-term cash flow needs. But in the long run, they are still healthy. And I think in this case, we can still, again, with proper controls and oversights, which we're implementing. And again, so from 2021 school year, 22, 23, 23, 24, we've been getting healthy increases, right? $400 per pupil each of the first 3 years. This year was a lump sum. Who knows what next year is going to be, correct? Could be 0, could be 400 again. But it's implementing those controls and keeping those controls in place and having a fiscal procedures in place to control that.
Okay.
This is not a permanent, long-term solution or issue. Again,
Okay.
it is recoverable.
Are we paying the higher interest rate that we used to have to pay? We used to always have to pay, even though we never defaulted. So Mr. McIntyre, our last CFO, used to call this the credit card. Right? We needed to get off the credit card. And every year, because we were an at-risk district for many years, we were deficit, and then we were below that 5, that we were on the MDE's radar because our fund balance was too low. So we always paid a higher rate. Are they going to say, oh, look, here's Redford Union again 5 years later, they're back where they were and hit us with that higher rate?
I'm not sure.
Is it possible?
Well, that's actually one of the reasons why the strategy is to get you into the the Municipal Finance Authority's pool, because then you're grouped, everybody that's in that pool gets the same rate. So you have the advantage of your compatriots.
Okay.
If you're out on your own,
Which sounds like we might have been.
you sink or swim more based on what your financial condition is.
Right.
And that's why
Yeah.
we want to have that just as a short-termer and get you into the state's pool, because that gives you some protection against, I think, what you're describing. Now, I didn't work on it, and
Right,
I've not worked
yeah.
on your past files, so I can't speak to what you were paying before.
Yeah.
But that's the strategy as to why, it's my recommendation that you
Okay.
be looking at the state's pool, because it immunizes you from some of that.
Right, and we may not have been eligible for the state's pool before, is what Mr. Witt was just indicating.
The state aid note we paid off with the early, we paid part of it in 2021 and then part of it in 21-22.
Yeah,
I don't think, thinking back in hindsight, those rates didn't seem exorbitant to me. I think they were 6%, 7%, 8%, which in the business climate is not a bad interest
okay.
rate.
I just wanna, up and down this, I'm gonna go down the table.
Start on
You want me to start? Okay, I'm gonna start with Mrs. Martin.
Okay, so what was last month's general fund budget? Like, what was our budget? What was the last month general fund budget?
You mean the mid-year budget update?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what Mrs. Pridemore was referring
you know
to.
what I'm saying, but what was the number?
What was the number?
It was 12%.
What's the amount?
Dollars. Give us dollars, right? Dollars amount, right?
About $4 million.
It was about 4,
12%.
it was, so that's what I'm asking,
Yeah.
it was $4 million.
5 we were projecting it to end at 5.5, 5.69.
Okay,
5.5,
5.6.
5.6 million. That was our general fund budget.
Yes.
Now you're saying we're at 0?
No, so your fund balance is not your cash balance. The fund balance, in a nutshell, it's the difference between your assets and your liabilities.
Okay, let me
Fund
say
balance.
this. I want to answer your question, but I also want to try to, we're talking about two different scenarios here. And I wanted to do my best. It's a very fair question. At the same time, I can't sit here right now and confidently give you a specific number on what that is.
How?
I think it helps us understand,
Well,
What
because
went
to be
wrong?
quite honest with you, I've been spending the
Yeah.
bulk of my time, and I know Mr. Belton has as well, on figuring out the short-term solution to identify the borrowing. And I will say this, the other reason why is because at the end of every year, whether we like it or not, we have to bring a final amended budget back before the board. So I'm not trying to dodge your question, but I can't sit here right now and give you a specific number with certainty that I'm gonna be held to. I do know that instead of 12%, that we are gonna be below 12%, but in running through some scenarios preliminarily, including Mr. Beltink and a person who worked as our interim CFO a few years back, we are going to be above 0. We will not be at 0. And we will not be at, but I can't give you this specific number. If Mr. Beltink has an idea on a number that he's comfortable with, then I'll defer to him on that.
Yeah, he gave us the number 5.5, 5.6. And so.
That was what we
that-
presented at the
that's
mid-year.
at the meeting. So
Yes.
That's what I asked for.
Yes.
And so, thank you, sir. And as it relates to what will this money actually cover?
It covers both payroll and other expenses that the district needs to
What's the
pay.
other expenses?
our operational expenses, so invoices that we get.
Lights,
Utilities.
utilities, water.
Lights, water,
Right.
heat, so our staff, all of our staff employees, our contract employees, our security, transportation, janitorial, those are some of the bigger hitters, right? So Durham, transportation, giant custodial, staff is a big one, that's every 2 weeks. And then, Shield Security is another one, and then the utilities.
Thank you.
Yep.
And then, so that's to cover the rest of, is it gonna cover the rest of May, it's what is it, May to June, is that just for May and June?
No, that gets us through the August timeframe, till we get to the state aid note.
So why do we need it for August when we said that we had the summer school per se staff funding covered?
Start up.
Because there's more expense, here's the thing, there's a percentage of our payroll that is paid out over all 26 weeks.
Yes.
So there's a lot, most of our staff members, even if they're less than full year,
Will
elect
choose
to
to
be
take
paid over
26 weeks.
26 weeks.
Somewhere
So
between.
while our
So you get a
summer
paycheck all year.
payroll is slightly less than the $1 million, roughly, it is reduced in the summer. There's still our payroll needs in the summer. There still are the operational needs in the summer. And we do, while we staff our programs with less support in the summer, we still provide a certain amount of transportation. We still have a certain amount of security staff. We still have our custodial needs all year round. So those are just operational expenses that occur throughout the year, and that's why those expenses there are things we do during the summer to reduce costs, but there are still a significant amount of costs over the summer as well.
Our custodial staff is working on annual things that they do when the kids are out during the summertime when there's nobody in here. Those things that they can get accomplished.
But you're right, our summer school staff, teachers are covered by our curriculum, so
Okay.
she worked for us.
Probably 80 to 85% of our staff extends their pay over the full year, over
Okay.
26 days.
Gotcha. And then I had another, okay, so if we, so this is not, we're not borrowing, this is like, it sounds, because before I thought that we were borrowing from our upcoming budget with the state. That's not happening. Or is that what we're seeing, that would be happening?
Yep.
Go ahead.
If I may, what you're pledging, what you're paying out of is the state aid that you'll be receiving from May through August for the short-term note. That's the window, and that's approximately you're getting about from state aid. You're getting almost $3 million a month. So for 4 months, that's $12 million, and you're pledging $4 million of that $12 million.
So
That's the pledge. So it's within this fiscal year, because remember, you get 2/11 of your state aid, about 18% of your state aid comes outside the fiscal year. It comes in July and in August. And that's one of the reasons why districts find themselves with some cash flow issues, is because 18% of your state aid comes after June 30. That creates a little bit of a touch point. The other is the timing of your taxes. You don't have much in the way of tax revenues in the first part of the year, and so that's also a source of kind of a dip in revenues. You get a lot of those tax revenues in the late summer, fall.
Because that's when we
But
levy
in
our
the-
school tax.
Right, that's
Yes,
what the school tax.
precisely, yes. And so what happens is, even if you have a fund balance, because of those dips and when it's all about the timing. And so when you've got those thin months, that's when the hole happens, and you've got to paper, you don't have to, I mean, you can come up with other solutions, carrying a higher fund balance can do that. But if you don't have that, papering over it, so to speak, with a state aid note fills that hole until things get flush again, and then you could pay that note back. That's the dilemma that you faced.
Well, in essence, I hear you say, this just means that you're saying that we will be borrowing into next school year budget.
That would not be this note. That's for once you get your budget set, because right now it's a lot of gas because you don't have a set budget for the 25-26 fiscal year. So we don't know what that is yet at this point. What we're doing though is we're positioning you so that you have that as an option.
So I think so this $4 million is from our 24-25 state aid, but we don't get that money until after we need it, July and August. So we're borrowing from this year's state aid because we don't get it until after we need it. It's already this, it's this year, it's not next year. Now, depending on what we do with our next budget, we could potentially need to borrow in August off of next year's state aid to get us through, potentially. But if we're smart and we tighten our belts a little bit, we hopefully don't have to do that.
And so there's some unknown factors in there as well. So right now, the focus is on the short-term needs to get us through August with a potential to do something in late August through the other pool, but hopefully by then, we know some things that we don't know now, such as what the per pupil foundation allowance
We can hope
may
that
be.
we know that by then.
And then there's talk about other increases in grants and funding areas that we already receive money because of our population. So there are a variety of factors, as well as, in addition to presenting the year-end budget for the current year, we will be presenting in June a new budget forecast for next year. And as Mr. Belting stated, we're scrutinizing that budget and will be in the days ahead until we bring forward a recommendation.
So,
The key to the next state aid note this summer, as Jason's mentioning, is that 25-26 budget. That's step number one that they're gonna wanna see and work off of, which is not ready yet.
so if we would, if I were to vote no, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would that mean if I were to vote no? And let's say, you know what I'm saying, some other people vote no.
Let's say the board doesn't pass this.
Yeah, there you go. What,
Right.
thank you,
Yeah.
thank you.
What
What happens?
What happens?
We would not be able to meet our financial obligations in the short term.
So we wouldn't be able to pay our staff.
Staff, vendors, correct, in the short term.
Correct. Okay.
And so as we go into this pool, will we know who we're going into this pool with? Like, who are the other, school districts that will be in this pool?
It's a great question. It's school districts from around the state. It's going to be downriver. It's going to be over on the Lake Michigan shoreline. It's going to be Upper Peninsula school districts. They're scattered around the state. You can always get a list. I mean,
Yeah, that's
We-
what we
There's
know
over,
that.
there's
but we
over
don't know
five-
that now, and we won't know who the other participants are until usually, because the calendar is not totally fixed yet. Usually, we know who's in, who's out by around July 4.
There's over 500 school districts in the state
So
of Michigan.
we think that it's gonna be a pool.
There will
Oh
be.
yes, there has not been.
This
there-
is a pretty common.
Sweating out
Yeah,
without
no.
a pool to get in.
I would, I've heard in my years, and way back, so many years ago, I went to a training done by Treasury Department around state aid and school funding, and it's a pretty common problem given, especially over those years, given the way state aid is handed out to us, but because they don't just give us our money, they have to be weird about it. They can't just give us a payment every month, right? God forbid they make it easy. And at a time, thankfully we've been healthy for several years, but there was a stretch there where a lot of school districts in the state of Michigan were at a low fund balance or in deficit spending, and they were doing this. Probably a lot of school districts. And so it's not an uncommon thing to happen. We just haven't had to do it since I think the 21-22 school year. Yeah. So if that helps, we won't be the only ones. We won't be the only ones in Wayne County. Okay, I lost Mrs. Dean. Miss Miller.
I just, my heart is weeping, not because of this, but, you know, I went to a meeting with Rashid, and they were talking about cuts that may be coming down the pipeline for
Federal cuts.
education. So this is just, I don't know, just the beginning of it all. So, you know, we just have to pray, and I'm gonna leave it at that. We have to pray. And if you a fighter, you know who to call and write and all that good stuff. So
Yeah.
just, that's all.
Thank you. Mrs. Johnson.
I don't have anything.
Mr. Osowski.
Let's see. I agree, about a month ago, we had a fund balance, now we have no fund balance for cash flow balance. But comes at a great time where we're trying to ask the community to trust us with another bond. Just, that blows me out of the water. We've known we've been over budget on the bond. We've talked about projects that should have stopped and didn't. Second guessing's great, but it doesn't help. But I'm gonna tell you right here, right now, it's not gonna be on the back of the administrators and the teachers.
Right.
I'm not gonna cut the kids short one bit. We have a great staff, we got a great team. I support the staff 100%. I'll get rid of every administrator I have to, starting at the top down, to balance this. This is wrong. You had said we had a blank slate when you started. We weren't in deficit, we were nothing, we were positive. But all of a sudden, all these contracts that have come up that everybody said, hey, how are we gonna pay, how are we gonna pay? Well, we got money, we have ESSER funds, we have this fund, we have a grant, we have this. Somewhere, somehow, this board's been misled a little bit on where the money went. I don't care what you say, it's $5.6 million is about what, 12% of $36 million, $37 million budget? If we're borrowing money now, we're gonna be borrowing in August. We're going backwards, so that means there's gonna be layoffs coming. You
There
could
has
say
been no-
there's not, you could say
there
there's
has-
not, but
there
you're
has
going
been
into
no
next
talk
year
about
at
that at this
$36 million, you're gonna have to take $4 to $6 million off. It's gonna come from somewhere. I don't want it to come from the kids. I don't care who gets upset. I'm gonna speak what I feel. I'm not putting it on the back of the kids. I don't care where it is. I've had discussions with Maria when she was here, hours into it. I've been through Donna Rhodes, I've been through all the other superintendents about it's this, it's this, it's this. It's an excuse at the end of the day. This should never have happened. And then to go out in front of the public and say, we want your bond money because you can trust us.
How do they trust us?
I don't trust us. $59 million, we did great things, the kids are excited, everybody's excited. Now we gotta come by and say, hey, by the way, we won't be able to fund some of these projects because we're $6 million short. And we're gonna be borrowing money. And that money's gonna have to be paid back through the year. So that means it comes out of the general fund, it comes out of the budget. We don't have anything left to sell. We can't privatize anything else. We sold the cell tower in the last year. We're selling this. What else would we have left? I don't care if anybody's upset or not, but I'll tell you this is wrong what this amount is from a month. 3 months I could see, 4 months possible, but 1 month later. And everybody said, oh, we look great financially, we're great, everything's rosy. We're not. I don't even know if we can go out for the bond. If you're borrowing money on a short-term note to make ends meet, how do you go in front of the bond committee or the treasurer
How
and
do we
say,
get approved?
here we go? We haven't even closed out all the bond things yet. What surprises are we gonna get with that? And we did have $1.7 million of bond funds available. That was ESSER funds that came back from that one sheet you gave us that gave us $1.7 million of all the funds we didn't use. All of you read the holdbacks, the concessions, all all the other fun part of it was $1.7 million. Plant Moran came and said, it's extra, it's a ballpark. Now we gotta sell the building or something just to get by. This is wrong. That's my opinion, Evelyn.
Yeah. I mean, I know.
Somebody,
I know-
somebody did something wrong. It's not just a 1 month thing where we lose $10 million in a month to get by.
I know, and I think to help you understand, Mr. Osowski and I, we've been here a long time. Our teachers gave us 11% pay concessions to save this district. 11%. I don't know anybody who can give up 11% of their pay. It took us like 5 years to make them whole. I sat in a room in Michigan, in Lansing, in front of MDE and Treasury with the entire board that I was on, and they said to us, it is against the law for you to deficit spend, and you need to bring your district right, or we will hold you legally accountable. And I'm gonna tell you, that is a scary, scary, scary thing to go through. Let me just say, nobody here wants that, and it's probably a little PTSD on our part and the people who walked through that and lived through that, who've been here a long time, that know what it's like to go to and bless their hearts, it started with our administrators they were the first people to give up money then. And then our secretaries and our EAs gave up money, and then our teachers gave. And our teachers gave a lot of money. And that was happening everywhere. At the same time, I had a friend who was a teacher in Romulus, and that same year, they gave 12.5% back to their district to save Romulus. So I think some of what you're hearing, especially from Mr. Osowski and I, is our heart, because we've been there, and we love these people, and we have seen them fight and struggle alongside of us to keep whole. And it's kind of a little sticker shock, right? And I do believe that we can bring it back. We did before. We did a lot of things. I mean, when I jokingly said you didn't make a photocopy without Greg McIntyre's permission. I mean, you didn't buy a paperclip because we didn't spend a penny that he didn't say it was okay to spend, because he was working and fighting to get this district sound again. And so now that Mrs. Dean is back, I'm gonna
Hold on, one more comment.
Okay.
The other thing is, how do you expect to attract students? Because you're not, because we're gonna have to cut programs. That's usually the first thing that
It's
gets
usually the
cut.
first thing to go.
And how do you look them in the face and say, hey, we're short, we made a mistake? It's hard to do, because these kids they work all year round, and
The
now
bus
we
are
gotta
home.
go tell them that, by the way, your favorite class might be going. It's hard to understand. I can't grasp it right, just hearing about it, that this is what's taking place. I really am at a loss, and like I said, a lot more digging's gonna have to be done, but like I said, I think right now, I don't know if we can even go out for the bond.
Yes, we can.
Doesn't affect it? Okay.
Mrs.
But
Dean,
I'm hearing everything you said.
it's just concern. Mrs. Dean, do
I
you
understand.
have questions regarding this or concerns that you want to share?
Actually, Mr. Bill, I think you're already addressed it.
Okay.
The short term, but this is sort of a short-term solution, and we have some things in place to kind of.
We will continue to work through that, yes. We've already started having meetings about this, actually tightening the belts, yes, and getting back to more of a historical range of spending in a lot of our areas.
My husband.
And that's realistic, like realistic and you can.
Realistically, we can, yes. Yes.
That's my question.
Thank you. Okay, so
I'm thinking about,
Mrs. Martin.
I'm sorry,
No,
Mr. I'm gonna call you Jeff.
you call him Jeff. It's okay. Like we're
You stated before, I think it was like an expenditure we spent on basketballs.
It's it's expensive.
it's like
It's everything.
$1,400 or something on basketballs.
And it's like, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what causes $4 million debt, but, miraculously, more.
And it's like,
Yeah.
I'm just lost.
I think
I'm saying football's basketball.
it's a shock. It's a shock. And
We
and forgive-
are historically above spending on athletics too, but it's not nearly the same as other areas, right?
right, but if we're
Yes, it's
if we're
all-
not
yes.
setting a budget
Yes,
and saying, okay, we are not spending $1 over this budget. If we're not
Yes.
saying to, I'm gonna pick on Mike for a minute, to Mr. Taylor, the high school budget is this amount and you do not spend 1 penny over that.
Correct.
If we're not doing that, then shame on us, right? And the same thing to Mrs. Birch, and to Mrs. Nickel, and to Mrs. Peterson, and to Dr. Lindsay, and to anybody else who spends money in this district. Jack to Jackie. To Jack, I mean, if we're not doing that, that's like, it's just like at home, right? You have a budget at home. And I appreciate that you're taking our heat, because I know that's not easy to do, you know. But I think you know it's because we love this district and we just want to make sure we understand how we got there and how we fix it. So if there are no other questions, I'm going to call for a roll call vote. Mrs. Dean.
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson.
Yes.
Mrs. Martin.
Yes.
Ms. Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Osowski.
I'm gonna abstain.
Mr. Osowski abstains.
Can I make a comment there? And I'll get the comment.
Yeah.
When we went to the board, it was a training that we had to go through. And it stated that there is really no reason why board members should be abstaining from voting.
Okay, I'll vote no.
Okay. I think it was because, yeah. There are reasons. If
I'm
it,
not trying to call, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
I'm just saying
there are reasons. Like, I will say, after I'm going to make my vote. My vote is yes. Motion carries 5-1. The reason that a board member would abstain, for example, when Mr. Kick was on the board, if there was a decision that affected his wife, who was an employee of this district, it was proper for him to abstain. I have abstained in matters that affected my child because I'm going to want to protect my child, right? And so there are reasons to abstain, and I think
But we can get some guidance on that, going back to our
Yeah.
earlier discussion, when we
that
talk
is good.
governance.
Yeah.
We talked,
Absolutely.
the other piece was governance and, board self-evaluation.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. Oh, see, it was. Listen, you get a gold
We
star.
will make sure to cover the nuances relative
Of why
to
you would abstain.
abstention.
Or no, once you vote, you can't change your vote.
No, because I already said that do you want to change your vote?
I did want to change my vote.
Okay.
You can't,
I mean, it's still going to pass. It just would pass 4-2.
we can't get into practice once it's.
Is that a violation of Robert's
Once
rules?
it's closed,
Okay.
it's closed.
No,
Okay.
it's this tasted.
Okay. I mean, it's 5-1 and 4-2 would have corrected it anyway. Yeah. But all right. Yeah, I'm like, are we violating Robert's rules there? Yeah. All right. Motion, okay, so I already said that for the record that the motion carried. Call to the audience, public participation regarding non-agenda items. I know you all are just dying to ask something. Okay, no. Board of Education, communication and discussion. All right, flag football, Friday, 5:30?
5:30.
There's a game so here's the deal, there's a game, our team from Redford Union plays a game at 4 o'clock. And they play against, I think, Romulus at 4 o'clock.
4 p.m.,
And
okay.
then at 8:30 p.m. under the lights
And then 8:30, okay,
is their second game.
okay. And then,
So they play twice. In between that time, there are 4 other schools playing 2 other games
4 or 5:30.
between a 5:30 and a 7 o'clock game.
honors is May 7th.
All right there.
This week's athletic
Uh-huh.
calendar schedule was emailed to you guys.
Thank you. I just like to remind everybody, keep graduation in the forefront of your mind, and we will, I'll prepare you that we will have a discussion around decorum at graduation at the May board meeting. And
Appreciated decorum, I don't want to interrupt, but if decorum could be followed and in support of you guys, I would appreciate that.
yeah, I will, I might actually,
Traditionally, anybody on the stage wears their gown.
well, and I know that Mr. Taylor.
Because it is a ceremony.
Yeah.
And that will be a topic of
It
discussion.
will be a topic of
Because we have at
discussion.
least one person
Oh,
who's
and he
indicated.
he's indicated that
doesn't
he's not
wanna
gonna wear
wear
his
it.
gown, so he's not gonna.
What do we do?
Well, he's not going on the oh, never mind. We'll deal with it at the May board meeting. Future meeting dates, Monday, May 12th, regular meeting, 5:30, right here, B Square. Tuesday, May 20th, again, board workshop. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Yes, it is. All right, 8:28.
Why don't you challenge Mr.